So what we have here, we're starting off with the structures of the brain. So we did the beginning of the nervous system. We did the central and peripheral nervous systems. Now we're going to get into the structure of the brain, which is an integral part of the central nervous system. We see the parietal lobe, occipital lobe, frontal lobe, temporal lobe is in the middle at the bottom, cerebellum, medulla oblongata, pons, central, lateral, and then we see the breaks. So what we need to really know is that the top part, the parietal, occipital, temporal, and frontal, those are going to be part of the cerebrum. Then you have the cerebellum, and then the medulla oblongata and pons, and you can't see the midbrain, are part of the brain stem. So the three parts: cerebrum, cerebellum, and brainstem. Okay? You don't need to know the sulcus and the breaks. What I really need you to know is occipital, parietal, temporal, frontal, cerebellum, and brainstem, and what they do. So cerebrum, adult brain has 6 major regions. Cerebrum is the largest region, controlling thought, complex movements, and memory. We see the frontal lobe controls movement, language, and other higher thinking functions. The temporal contains auditory, taste, and olfactory, smell areas. Parietal integrates sensory information. All right. And the occipital contains the vision center of the brain. So the very back of the brain is occipital. Now we see a little bit of a sliced in half view. Again, we see the frontal, parietal, occipital. We see the sulcus again. And we start to see the inside, the hypothalamus, which will be important in the endocrine system, pituitary gland, pineal gland, pons, medulla oblongata. So we're starting to see the different parts inside and how we're gonna find out what they control. A lot of these we're gonna come up with, like the pituitary and the hypothalamus, are gonna come up again in the endocrine system. So the layers of the cerebrum. The cerebrum has 2 layers: the outer gray matter, which contains the neuron cell bodies, and the white matter contains the axons enclosed in myelin sheaths from the beginning. Remember that? So the neuron cell bodies is the gray matter, that's the outside, and the white matter is the axons. Okay? So we see Diencephalon integrates sensory information and motor commands. The thalamus transfers impulses received from the sensory neurons to the correct region of the cerebrum. The hypothalamus controls many aspects of internal homeostasis, including overall body temperature, water balance, and overall metabolism. The pineal gland releases melatonin, a hormone that regulates day-night cycles. The brainstem directly attaches the brain to the spinal cord. The pons contains neurons responsible for controlling breathing. The medulla oblongata is the lowest part of the brainstem, merging into the spinal cord, controls heart rate, blood pressure, swallowing, vomiting, and breathing. It is not the reason why crocodiles are ornery, because they have all them teeth and no toothbrushes. If you get that joke, it's a good movie. Cerebellum. The cerebellum coordinates posture, balance, and body movement. So the control and coordination of your body movements is going to be the cerebellum. Okay, so you know that whole joke, you can't walk and chew gum at the same time? That would be an issue with the cerebellum. So the protection of the central nervous system, due to their size and complex shape, neurons cannot undergo mitosis and are irreplaceable. As a result, the central nervous system has more protection than any other part of the body. So you cannot replace them. So that's why it's important not to do things that cause your brain to have issues. Certain drugs, chemicals cause brain damage. So the first layer of protection are the flat bones of the skull. Below are the meninges, membranes of connective tissues. So you have the dura is the thickest layer. Arachnoid is a network of blood vessels. And the pia is the innermost layer. The protection of the central nervous system, again, you have the cerebrospinal fluid, similar to plasma, circulates through a series of cavities called ventricles throughout the brain, provides a watery cushion, protects the nervous system from trauma. A blood-brain barrier made of capillaries only allow water, glucose, amino acids in and out of the brain. Waste and proteins and cells are kept out. Okay, so a lot of things they're talking about. Certain things, chemicals that can cross the blood-brain barrier, it's important to know what they are, and we'll talk about them later on. The spinal cord is essentially a continuation of the brainstem down the back towards the pelvis. The bone, meninges, and cerebrospinal fluid provide protection. Spinal nerves are mixed nerves that carry motor, somatic, and autonomic signals from the body to the spinal cord. So you see right here where on the spinal cord the nerves coming off it control. So CNS disorders. Encephalitis is an inflammation of the brain itself caused by a foreign substance or virus. Headache, drowsiness, fever. Meningitis is an inflammation of the meninges of the brain and spinal cord. You get a fever and a stiff neck. Another is Alzheimer's, is a degenerative disease that causes gradual loss of neuron cell bodies and synapses in the cerebral cortex. Tends to affect new memories first. What causes unknown. Brain tumors are masses of cells that overgrow specific areas of the brain. Symptoms vary depending on the exact region affected by the tumor. A stroke occurs when a blood clot or ruptured blood vessel interrupts the blood flow to a specific part of the brain. Brain cells die from lack of oxygen, causing permanent damage in that region. Brain equivalent of a heart attack. Next, we have a concussion. Is a traumatic brain injury caused by impact that is not absorbed by the cerebrospinal fluid and damages the brain itself. Cranial nerves are 12 pairs of nerves, mostly from the head and neck, that attach directly to the brain. They bypass the spinal cord and are part of the autonomic nervous system. And then we see the cranial nerves. We have the different sensories. So olfactory is smell, optic is vision, ocular motor is eye muscles, trochlear is eye muscles. Trigeminal are facial, chewing muscles, and abducens are eye muscles. All right, cranial nerves again. So we have more. Here's 7. Facial is taste. All right, we have balance and hearing. We have taste, and we have sensory is the 10th. Okay, and then we have accessory nerves, the neck and upper back muscles, and then we have the tongue nerve.